what might have been had you been vice president instead of J.D. Vance, what might have been had Kamala Harris been the president right now instead of Donald Trump.
Americans, lo and behold, like democracy and feeding their children. Yes, it was somewhat buffoonish, but I'm not quite certain that we're reading that right.
So Tim Walz had his first interview since losing the election with none other than Rachel Maddow, and it was humiliating. He showed that Democrats have not learned their lesson at all, or even considering doing a shred of self-reflection to figure out why they lost so embarrassingly. In fact, they are even doubling, tripling down on the whole dictator, fascist, authoritarian threat to democracy rhetoric. I said it before, but the Democrats just look like the crazy person on the street screaming that the world is about to end. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but where I have to start with this is Tim Walz illustrating my point beautifully that they are sticking to the same old playbook by bringing up the boogeyman, Project 2025. Watch.
Yeah, it's good to be back with you, Rachel. And great first segment, terrifying but accurate. You know what they're after, and it's not that we should be surprised by this. They laid it out in Project 2025, so here we are.
Well, actually, let me ask you about that on this point. A lot of people have been today and the last few days crediting your campaign and crediting all the reporting during the campaign that identified Project 2025 as essentially what looked like a blueprint for the incoming Trump administration to dismantle the American government. They denied it. They said they had nothing to do with it, said they'd never heard of it. Does it seem to you like that's actually what they're doing?
Oh, it is. It doesn't seem it is. We took it seriously, and I can tell your viewers tonight, governors and attorney generals took this seriously, and there was a lot of planning. There's a lot of good folks, smart folks, organizations. You talked about some of them that were out there preparing for this. But there's only so much planning you can do because of the impact it makes.
So while the Democrat Party is in shambles with no leader, no message, and the lowest approval rating in history, Tim Walz admits the only course of action that they have or should take is trying to resist and fight Donald Trump's agenda. And you see how he immediately brought it up. It wasn't even prompted by Rachel Maddow. This is what Donald Trump has done in his short time of being president. He signed executive orders to lower regulation and unleash energy. He has ended the woke DEI nonsense in the government, in corporate America, and in schools. He has stopped allowing wild gender ideology to be able to be pushed in schools. He demanded all federal workers return to the office. He has enacted his mass illegal immigration deportation campaign, which was popular. He and Elon Musk are working tirelessly to stop and prevent wild, inefficient government spending. The Democrats are mad and back to demonizing him because in less than 2 weeks, he has exposed just how intentionally they were ruining the country and how a few executive orders and some common sense governance can change all of that. I forgot to mention Trump turned the water back on in California, but if you let Gavin Newsom tell it, he was swearing up and down that was a lie. There was no valve, there was no pump. Turns out there was a valve and a pump, and it was shut off by him and the Biden administration. Now, this is where Tim Walz goes off the deep end, starts losing his mind, literally just making up lies and says, you should have voted for him and Kamala because the Republicans are trying to defund the police now. Watch.
What do you think Americans listening to you right now, thinking about what might have been had you been vice president instead of J.D. Vance, what might have been had Kamala Harris been the president right now instead of Donald Trump, people hearing you talking about the pushback and the fight and that mattering. What does that mean in practical terms? The average person watching you right now who agrees that this needs a big pushback, what should they do?
Yeah, and that overused term, the frog in the boiling water, we've been in the damn pot way too long. I think it is speaking up. It's thinking about your neighbors. It's writing and putting those members of Congress. Look, there is no spine amongst those folks, but this is real. This is, they're talking about defunding the police, things that they, puff their chests up and say they're good with, making the case. And I would let, to the voters, I'm with this too. Everybody's fatigued. Trust me, I get it. It was pure hell, and the disappointment and the frustration. And I'm, soul searching. What could we have done to make the case? Because we knew this was coming. We knew that the implications, and they're throwing so much at us that we're fatigued. We spent 3 days, having them trying to debate that President Musk gave a Nazi salute. Of course he did.
You can tell just how desperate they are by bringing up Elon Musk's wave to the crowd and calling it a Nazi salute. These people are just degrading themselves and embarrassing themselves so badly. They're trying to grasp to anything to make them feel like they were right. The federal funding freeze was so specific, a third grader could understand it. But yet Democrats are just willing to lie and say, oh, he's cutting Medicaid, he's cutting Medicare, he's cutting food stamps, he's cutting Head Start, he's cutting air traffic control, the police. It was so specific. No more money that's not in line with an America First agenda. That means no more $300 million to circumcisions in Africa. No more money that goes to supporting this divisive and racist DEI initiative. So no more billions of dollars in taxpayer money to line the pockets of critical race theory activists. It also said the hiring freezes and the funding freezes did not apply to essential services, to public safety services, to services directly to people. But the Democrats are hoping their supporters are so outraged that they don't care to hear the facts. They just want to be lied to and fed propaganda. The reason the Democrats are in shambles, and this is their only strategy, is because they built their entire platform and ideology on anti-American ideas and values that are extremely unpopular and were rejected by the public. So in order for them to go forward, they have to dismantle their entire party and rebuild it. But that would require admitting that they were wrong in the first place, which they refuse to do. So they're stuck in this limbo mode. So in typical Democrat elitist fashion, Tim Walz is mad that he's not getting his way. So he decides to now attack the dumb, stupid, poor red states.
And the deafening silence of Republican governors, these are my colleagues, some of them are my friends, but shame on you. You know what this is doing. And look, I come from a wealthy state that has the lowest childhood poverty rates, and we have a strong safety net. I guarantee you these Republican states would pay the price far more than us, and they're just silent on it. So we're going to need some courage. This is a long fight. This is ideologically everything you laid out. They want to destroy the federal government, this buyout of employees, because now they threaten them. It's here. The game is here. We knew it was coming. I don't know what people thought, that we were just speaking, that this wasn't going to happen. Donald Trump said, oh, I never heard of him. And now you got this guy Vote, that's at the heart of it. So look, it's on. I'm glad you said that. Governors are out there. The resistance is strong. You felt it. Americans, lo and behold, like democracy and feeding their children. So they're going to fight for these things.
It's like these people just can't accept that not everybody thinks the same way as them. Shame on Republicans for not fighting for what I want. The United States is $36 trillion in debt, running at a $2 trillion deficit every single year. Each year, more of our budget is getting consumed by interest payments. And Democrats just don't want to address it. They live in a fantasy world where open borders are great, where boys can become girls is a real thing, and injecting kids with irreversible hormones is just all fine and dandy. Nothing they stand for is rooted in reality, so they just want to keep gallivanting around in Looney Tunes world until inevitably it hits them in the face like a ton of bricks and the United States collapses. They can't believe the rest of us are serious about getting our house in order. And that means cutting down on wild, ludicrous spending. Sending $45 million for scholarships in war-torn Burma would be okay if everything was pristine here at home, which it isn't. Hence the America First agenda. Now, he and Rachel Maddow in their interview trying to scare everybody and listing off a bevy of things that are going to get cut, even though they aren't, proving that they're just propagandists and exposing why nobody watches MSNBC.
The things they went after today are basically a big chunk of what society does, and people like to have clean water and hospitals and safety and roads and airports, all the things they're going after, and you summed it up. There's societies that function like this, where the rich and the oligarchs do everything, and there's some fabulously wealthy people who are are above the law, and the rest of us are here. And I think we have to find that voice. We have to push back. We have to be organized. We do have to use the courts. But I just want to caution everyone. I don't know what tends us to believe that Donald Trump cares what the courts say. I think there needs to be more to that. And I think it is taking it to the individual people. Show what each of these programs does and what it means to people's lives.
Yeah, no matter what people motivated anybody's vote, if you didn't think you were voting to cut firefighting, if you didn't think you were voting to cut meat inspections, if you didn't think you were voting to cut air traffic control, well, it's all becoming very, very clear right now.
It's like they're oblivious to the fact that people can check to see if these things are true. They always talk about how MAGA's so dumb, so uneducated, and the Democrats are so smart. But Democrats have to assume their people are so stupid and so brainwashed that they can just lie to them blatantly, and the outrage that they have against Donald Trump will make them believe anything they're saying. The only people left still watching MSNBC are 100% those kind of people. Anybody with a shred of common sense has already abandoned the Democrat Party. Like, this is why my strategy when I debate with Democrats is to not get lost in the tall grass with them. I don't talk stats, I don't talk studies, I don't talk polls, because they're all irrelevant. I talk directly to common sense and logic. If you really think the President of the United States would cut something like food stamps, you have no common sense. If you think the President of the United States would just shut off health insurance to elderly people, you have no common sense. And their whole Trump is a racist, that's why he's trying to shut off welfare argument doesn't even work, because more white people are recipients of government aid than black people. So if Trump is the racist you think he is, why would he be doing something that is going to harm more white people than black people? Just no logic, no common sense. That's why I encourage you, if you learn one thing from me, it is pick up my debate style. Do not get involved in the weeds with Democrats. The experts say, the studies show, in college I learned this. No, I'm not dignifying your position by even engaging with you there. I don't care if the experts say the sky is green and the grass is blue. I'm not debating with you that math is on a spectrum and why 1 + 1 might equal 3. Now, I came across this hilarious video of a former Kenyan president making fun of all these countries who are freaking out because the US is no longer writing blank checks. Let's watch it.
People the other day crying, oh, I don't know, Trump has removed money. He said he's not giving us any more money. Watu wanalia. Why are you crying? It's not your government, it's not your country. He has no reason to give you anything. I mean, you don't pay taxes in America. He's appealing to his people. Shauri yenu bana. This is a wake-up call for you to say, okay, what are we going to do to help ourselves? Instead of crying, to jiulize, what are we going to do? Haya, ametoa hiyo pesa, sasa tutafanya namna gani jameni? What are we going to do? Yeah? To support ourselves. Because nobody is going to continue holding out a hand there to give you. It is time for us to use our resources for the right things. We are the ones who are using them for the wrong things.
Over the past 50 years, the United States has spent tens of trillions of dollars in foreign aid. The United States government is siphoning money from the American taxpayers, sending it across the globe, most of which just gets stolen by corrupt politicians. And then what doesn't get stolen just gets laundered back. The world has milked the gravy train of the United States for far too long, and it is over. Again, what this Kenyan president said was common sense. Why is it so shocking that the United States government should be spending its vast wealth on its citizens? We're the only country that doesn't do that. And that's why I truly believe Trump is going to usher in a golden era of America. Because for the first time, the vast power and wealth of the United States is going to be used to enrich its own citizens. Now, while Trump is trying to make America great again, disgraceful and miserable Joy Reid is trying to blame the horrific plane crash in Washington, D.C. on Donald Trump.
Let me ask you this, because we do know some things. There are some facts on the ground. We know that there's normally 2 people in that control tower. Obviously there is a shortage of people in that control tower. But these are the things we know for a fact. On January 20th, Donald Trump's FAA director resigned under pressure from Elon Musk. We know that same day, this was on Inauguration Day, Donald Trump froze air traffic controller hiring, along with all federal hiring. The Aviation Safety Advisory Committee was disbanded on January 22nd. The buyout demand, which is not really a buyout, trying to get people to resign in exchange for some vague promises to existing employees, went out January 28th. And on January 29th, the very next day, we had this crash.
It exposes so much hate in her heart that she's trying to do everything that she can to connect the dots to blame it on Donald Trump. Even though the New York Times reported that like 80 or 85% of air traffic control towers are understaffed. Now, how in the world was that Donald Trump's fault? That they wouldn't be so understaffed had they not been pursuing a policy that rejects candidates because they're white. I'm not saying the shortage is solely due to that, but it's certainly a factor. And just like her equally dishonest counterpart, Rachel Maddow, she just spews lies. Air traffic control was not affected by Trump's hiring freeze or the threats of firing. Because again, common sense here. Why would the president make the skies more dangerous? Before we go, I want to talk to you guys about a new series I'm going to be starting on my channel called Soapbox. These episodes will be different than my daily political commentary videos. Instead of shorter commentaries to multiple clips, Soapbox episodes are going to be longer, more detailed, more insightful, 10, 11-minute rants on a singular topic of issue that I find important or interesting. I dropped a video on Christmas called How Woke Ruined American Society, and this was kind of my inspiration for this idea because I like the opportunity to really go in and dive deep on a topic and give you guys an insightful perspective. These episodes will come out every 2 weeks or so let me know in the comments what you guys would like me to talk about. In the comments that get the most thumbs up, I'll definitely take a look at and consider. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.